I used to work the night shift at a 24/7 general store inside a mall in South Carolina. While the mall itself closed at 9:30 p.m., our store stayed open all night. There were two ways customers could enter the store: through the mall entrance or a back door that remained open after the mall closed. I would always have to shut the gate separating the store from the mall once the mall closed. And since our store was small, it didn't get a lot of foot traffic during the late night hours. Most of the time, my shifts were uneventful, but there was one night that changed all that. It was about halfway through my shift when the mall was quiet and nearly empty. The gate between the store and the mall was down, but I could still see through it into the dimly lit, shadowy hallway of the mall. The mall had night lights on, which were dim, but enough for security to keep an eye on things through the cameras. I was just doing my usual routine, organizing the shelves and making sure everything was neat, when I heard a strange rattle at the metal cage gate. I turned to see a man standing on the other side, grasping the gate with his hands. At first, I thought it was a security guard, maybe just checking on things, though it was unusual to see them walking around at that time. But as I walked closer to ask if there was a problem, I quickly realized it wasn't a security guard. The man was wearing a dirty black and white plaid shirt and baggy blue jeans. What struck me as especially odd was that he wasn't looking at me or doing anything that made sense for someone trying to get in. He was just staring up at the ceiling, shaking the gate. I asked again if he needed help, but he didn't respond. He just kept looking up at the ceiling and rattling the gate. There was some protocol for this situation where I was supposed to contact mall security, but I didn't know the number to call, nor did I know how to work the intercom. So, all I could do was try to ignore him. I turned my back to the man and went back to my register, trying to get as far away from him as possible. Unfortunately, the layout of the store made it hard to avoid seeing him. The shelves were angled in a way that meant the man was still in my direct line of sight, even though I was behind the counter. He seemed to back away from the gate, but even stranger, he kept his head tilted up toward the ceiling the whole time, walking backwards. I couldn't stop thinking about where security might be. I knew there had to be someone watching the cameras at night, but I didn't see anyone. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease and just continued with my work, though I couldn't help but glance back at the dark hallway of the mall every now and then. Thankfully, after a while, the man was gone. Later, a customer came into the store through the back door. I was in the aisle between two shelves, so I didn't immediately see them, but I heard the door slide open. I finished sweeping the aisle and went back to the register, expecting to greet the customer. When I looked up, I was stunned to see the same man from earlier standing at the end of the last aisle, the alcohol aisle. At first, I thought he was just looking at the top shelf, but when I glanced at him again, I noticed something that made my heart race. He was staring directly at me with a wide, unsettling smile. It wasn't a friendly smile, more of a twisted, eerie grin. And as I looked at him, I realized that this was definitely the same man who had been rattling the gate earlier, but now he was wearing a different shirt. His black and white plaid shirt was gone, and he was standing there, smiling at me, with a look that sent chills down my spine. I couldn't look away, and neither could he. We just stared at each other for what felt like an eternity, maybe 30 seconds, though it felt much longer. I was paralyzed with fear, unsure of what to do. My body just froze up. Finally, I mustered up the courage to speak, my voice shaking as I told him, "Get out, or I'm calling the cops." But he didn't react. He didn't even flinch. I quickly ran to the back room and locked the door behind me, trying to gather myself enough to call my manager. I tried calling her several times, but she didn't pick up. I sat in that back room, absolutely terrified, my mind racing. After what felt like an agonizing 5 minutes, I heard a soft tap at the door. Not a knock, but a very gentle tap, like someone was trying to get my attention without making a lot of noise. I didn't want to open the door or even move. The fear of the man potentially stealing from the store or doing something worse eventually became greater than my fear of staying in that back room, so I decided to step out and check. When I opened the door and peeked out into the store, the man was gone. Completely gone. I couldn't believe it. I walked around the store, checking to make sure he wasn't hiding somewhere, but there was no sign of him. I went back to the counter and tried to calm myself down. He was gone for good. Our store had cameras, so I reviewed the footage from the night. It captured the whole strange interaction, and when I showed the footage to my manager, she was shocked and honestly a little freaked out by it. She couldn't believe what had happened. After that night, I finished out my shift, but I only worked there for another month before I decided to leave. The whole experience left me feeling uneasy, and I knew it was time to move on.